But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life. What can you do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Good question. What can you do with economic chaos, massive disappointment? What can you do with a broken heart? What can you do when it won't work? Good question. I think my personal advice to you would be, this year, 1981, reach down inside of you and come up with some more of those remarkable human gifts. They're there, waiting to be utilized. And then change anything for you you want to change. And I challenge you to do that because you can change. If you don't like how it is for you, change it. If it doesn't suit you, change it. If it doesn't please you, change it. If it isn't enough, change it. And I challenge you to do that because you can change. See, you don't ever have to be the same again after tonight, only by choice. If you don't like your present address, change it. You're not a tree. It also takes more than enthusiasm. I know we're hearing a lot about enthusiasm these days, but see, that just won't do the job. We're still hearing the old cliches of the 30s, right? To be enthusiastic, you must act enthusiastic. But see, that's not going to help. After you have leaped about, there are some things you've got to do, or it isn't going to change. You may not be able to do all you find out, but you should find out all you can do. See, you don't want to wind up at the end of your life and discover that you've lived only 1/10 of it. And the other 9/10 went down the drain. Not for lack of opportunity, for lack of information. So that's number one, find out how things work. Now here's the best human virtue for finding out, curiosity. Make a note of that. Curiosity. Be curious. You might add a word to it that'll help. Childish curiosity. What will kids do if they want to know something bad enough? Bug you, that's the phrase. They can ask 1,000 questions. You think they're through? They got another 1,000. They'll drive you to the brink. So be like a child. Now, if you're curious, let me give you 3 ways to find out how to change anything. Any life direction, any dimension. Here's 3 ways to find out how to change anything. Number 1 is to read. Become a good reader. There are times when you just lose, no matter what you do. It's that kind of planet. You reap what you sow. Yes, but... what does that mean? Yes, but... well, the farmer plants his crop in the spring, takes care of it all summer, loves his family, works 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, is an honorable man. Come fall, he's got a beautiful crop, and he deserves every bit of it. But the day before he sends the combines into the field, a hailstorm comes along and beats it all in the ground. The 7th key to sowing and reaping. And it goes like this. It's just another way to quote the same law. And it goes like this. If you don't sow, that's just another way to quote the law. If you don't sow, what? You don't reap. You don't even have a chance. So if you looked at your game plan tomorrow, you might come to a quick conclusion. I got to get some sowing going. How true. Get you some sowing going. And I got to get some sowing going. How true. Get you some sowing going.
And I got to get some sowing going. How true. Get you some sowing going.
And remember, you've got plenty of time. You've got all the time there is. Some people spend enough TV time to make a fortune. The latest article on television watching in this country, according to the latest article, the average television is on in this country in every household 7 hours a day, called the Big 7. I asked a guy one time what his TV cost. He said about $450. I said, you forgot to look at the price tag. He said, what do you mean? I knew he was a TV watcher. I said, that television costs you, in my opinion, at least $12,000 a year. To watch it, not to own it. Owning it's cheap. Watching it is what's expensive. And I said, hey, $12,000 a year is too much to pay to watch TV. That's too much. Pay a little, but not $12,000. Which means you lose. Here's what else I found out. Reasons come first, answers come second. You don't get the answers to do well till you get the reasons.
When I was talking to spies and studying this during the Cold War, it was realized that different frequencies could cause different things to happen in the body. There's a frequency that can cause the bowel to collapse, the eyes to go funny, the heart to collapse, and so on. And there are 4,500 different structures in the body that can be known to be affected. So as you run through the 2G, 3G, 4G, then you can affect different ones. When I was talking to spies, and my list, the list that I made, I suppose I had a list, an active list of networks then that used between 40 and 60 different frequencies that could cause up to around 100 neurological and physiological conditions. The latest list that I have, I've seen one of 600. The latest list I've seen or heard of is now 750 different frequencies that can cause neurological, physiological harm. But it isn't 750 where you get this one or this one or this one. Mathematically, it is 750 factorial, which means you can get the effects of 1 multiplied by 2, multiplied by 3, up to 750. Now, 5G is going to encompass a lot of what all of the other Gs have and introduce its own as well. And this is why the top scientists in 40 countries have actually signed a petition saying, you cannot do this. But like all of the other Gs, the industry and the government scientists are choosing to ignore the entire scientific body throughout the world and just plod on regardless, because they are actually above the law. That after 5 generations for some animals, they could become extinct, except, and this is interesting, except bacteria and viruses. They seem to proliferate and grow and become more deadly in microwaves.
While it's destroying the biological makeup of creatures, of mammals, of marsupials, of human beings, it actually increases the potency of viruses and some bacteria. That's extraordinary.
Oh yeah, and it was because this came up in our conversation, and I can tell you he wouldn't mind. He's published it. It was Professor Muscular, who is the senior professor of Vienna University. I mentioned this, and he said, "Oh yes," and he came out with the proteins on the bacterium and that. But it's known and it is published that bacterium, when they're exposed to microwaves, they can reproduce so rapidly that they have a defensive mechanism. Well, of course, they are the oldest living beings on the planet. They've developed a defensive mechanism, and they reproduce more rapidly, and they become immune to antibiotics.
The idea of cockroach milk is repugnant to anyone who lives in a big city, but the yellow liquid that the female Pacific beetle cockroach feeds its babies is actually really good for you. According to a team of researchers at the India's Institute of Stem Cell Biology and Regenerative Medicine, the cockroach milk is amongst the most nutritious substances on Earth. The protein content is higher than that of milk from cows, goats, and buffaloes. Even if the public is willing to accept it, they might have to wait until it's available in the United States. Apparently, it's not so easy to milk a cockroach.
The wars that we're seeing everywhere, the migrant influx into Europe, the destruction economically of all of our countries and the destruction of so many countries through military means. All of these things, folks, we've got the world screaming out about all of this sort of stuff and doing everything they can to change it. And really, some of the stuff that I've come across in the last few weeks while I've been touring, some of the talks that I've had, looking at the vaccination situation, as I mentioned earlier, the weaponization of diseases through vaccines. A lot of the stuff that we're facing, folks, the AI grid, the nanotech that is being sprayed in the sky, some of the stuff that I've talked about in my last film, Transformation, I can really look at how the world is being run and what we're sort of not noticing that's happening right beneath our noses. You know, it's very much like as if you are in a house and you are being attacked by a pack of rabid dogs outside the house, and you're sitting in your house and you're barricaded up there and you're paying so much attention to making sure the doors are sealed and the windows are locked and the dogs are kept at bay outside the house. So you never really have time to notice that there is lice crawling across the floor, and the lice have crawled up your legs and the lice are gaining control of you. And it was really always about the lice. It wasn't about what was happening outside the house at all. It was about what was happening right to you, right under your very nose. And this is what the AI grid and the transhuman grid that is coming online really is, folks. This convenience world that we are being ensnared by, and we're too busy fighting against all the external stuff to really notice what's going on right beneath our feet and right under our noses. And it's this AI grid that is coming online, and the way they are making it almost impossible to escape from it. As I said, it's coming in everywhere. You can't even fly without using AI these days.
Here's what else I found out. Reasons come first, answers come second. You don't get the answers to do well till you get the reasons. Watching it is what's expensive. Watching it is what's expensive.
Watching it is what's expensive.
He claims that they love the way he controls his female and his economy and his money. Claim that by the sword the fetish gods and the neighboring idolatry. If not by will, by force, then must follow it out completely. This is how man encountered first time in the Ethiopian country, visiting all the broken fragment parts of our ancient unity. Nobody ever send no new upgrades, media suffering deceive we. Never they know say that see Jehovah, they know mass God Almighty. Some of I and I accept the new instructions out of the shortest memory.